Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair on the bridge of the ESS Vengeance. The stars outside the windows looked peaceful, but Jake knew that peace never lasted long in this part of space. He was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency signal came through. The red lights on the bridge started flashing. Amy Stone, his communications officer, turned to him with worry in her eyes. "Captain, we're getting a distress call from Kepler 442b. It's the mining colony there." Jake put down his coffee cup, put it on the main screen. The message was full of static and broken words. Jake could barely make out what was being said, but some words came through clearly enough to make his blood run cold. Double quotes emergency. Under attack. Blue skinned aliens. Children taken. Please help. Totes. The message cut off into silence. Jake stared at the screen for a moment. The bridge crew was quiet, waiting for his orders. "Amy, try to contact them again." Jake said. Amy worked at her console for several minutes. Finally, she shook her head. "No response, Captain. The signal is completely dead." Jake stood up from his chair. "Ron, what do we know about that colony?" Lieutenant Commander Ron Bailey checked his computer. "It's a small mining operation. About 200 people, mostly families. They mine rare metals for the Earth Defense Fleet." "How many children?" Jake asked. Ron looked at his screen again. "According to the last census, about 60 kids, ages 5 to 16. The bridge went quiet again. Everyone knew what those broken words meant. Someone had taken human children. Jake's voice was cold when he spoke again. "Pete, how long to reach Kepler 442b? Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez ran the numbers. "At maximum speed, 18 hours, Captain." "Then we go to maximum speed now." Jake turned to his pilot. "Kelly, set course for Kepler 442b. Push the engines as hard as they'll go." Commander Kelly Nash's fingers flew over her controls. "Course set, Captain. Engines at full power." Jake felt the ship's engines roar to life beneath his feet. The ESS Vengeance was not the biggest ship in the fleet, but it was fast and it had teeth. During the long journey, Jake couldn't sit still. He paced the bridge, thinking about those broken words, children taken. The thought made his stomach turn. In his 20 years of service, he had seen many terrible things. But nothing made him angrier than threats to children. Dr. Helen Cruz came to the bridge with a report. "Captain, I've been studying the transmission. The voice pattern suggests the person speaking was under extreme stress. Possibly injured? What about those blue-skinned aliens?" Jake asked. Helen shook her head. "No species in our database matches that description exactly, but there are several possibilities." Ron Bailey looked up from his computer. "Captain, I've been checking recent intelligence reports. There have been rumors about a species called the Zeltharians. They're described as blue-skinned and aggressive." "Tell me about them," Jake said. "Not much is known. They claim to have an ancient empire, very proud. They think other species are beneath them. They've been expanding their territory recently." Jake nodded. "Keep researching. I want to know everything about these Zeltharians before we arrive." 18 hours later, the ESS Vengeance dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 442b. What Jake saw made his hands clench into fists. The planet's surface was marked with burn scars. Several buildings in the main colony were destroyed. Smoke was still rising from some areas. "Kelly, take us down." "Land near the main settlement," Jake ordered. The ship landed with a soft thud. Jake grabbed his weapon and headed for the exit. "Amy, Pete, Ron, you're with me. Helen, bring your medical kit. Kelly, keep the engines ready." The team stepped out of the ship onto the colony's landing pad. The air smelled of smoke and fear. Buildings around them were damaged. Some had been completely destroyed. They walked through the empty streets. Jake's team had their weapons ready, but they saw no signs of life. The colony looked like a ghost town. "Over here," Amy called out. She had found the colony's command center. Half of the building was destroyed, but part of it was still standing. They searched through the wreckage carefully. Helen found her first. A woman trapped under some fallen metal beams. She was badly hurt but still alive. Help me get her out, Helen said. They lifted the beams carefully. The woman was middle-aged with brown hair and kind eyes, but those eyes were filled with pain and fear. I'm Dr. Helen Cruz, Helen said as she examined the woman's injuries. What's your name? Lisa Campbell, the woman whispered. I'm the colony administrator. Jake knelt down beside her. Lisa, I'm Captain Jake Morrison. We got your distress call. What happened here? Lisa's eyes filled with tears. They came 3 days ago. Ships we'd never seen before. Blue-skinned aliens. They said we were on their territory. Their territory? Jake asked. They claimed this planet belonged to some ancient treaty. Sighed, we had to leave immediately. But this has been our home for 10 years. We couldn't just abandon everything. Lisa winced as Helen treated her wounds. When we refused to leave, they got angry. They started attacking the colony, but they didn't kill us all. What do you mean? Jake asked. They separated the children from the adults. They took all the kids, every single one. Lisa's voice broke. Including my daughter Emma, she's only 6 years old. Jake felt a cold rage building in his chest. How many children? 43, Lisa said. They herded them onto their ships like animals. The alien commander said something about teaching humanity a lesson. Lisa reached into her pocket and pulled out a small recording device. I managed to record some of what he said. Jake took the device and played it. A harsh alien voice filled the air. The words were in broken English, but the meaning was clear. Your offspring will serve as examples of what happens when lesser species trespass on sacred Zeltharian worlds. They will learn to serve their betters. If humanity wishes to see them again, you will abandon all colonies in this sector. The recording ended. Jake's team stood in shocked silence. Captain, Lisa said weakly, you have to find them. They're just children. They must be so scared. Jake looked at his team. He saw the same anger in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Someone had taken human children. Someone had made the worst mistake of their lives. We'll find them, Jake told Lisa, and we'll bring them home. As Helen worked to stabilize Lisa's injuries, Jake walked outside and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 43 human children were prisoners of an alien empire. They were probably scared, confused, and crying for their parents. Jake pulled out his communication device and contacted his ship. Amy, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have a code red situation. Alien species has kidnapped human children. Yes, Captain, Amy's voice crackled through the device. Jake looked at the stars again. The Zeltharians thought they were dealing with just another weak species? They had no idea what they had just unleashed. They had threatened human children. And Jake Morrison was going to make sure they regretted it for the rest of their short lives. Jake Morrison stood in the communication room of the ESS Vengeance. The screen in front of him showed Admiral Grace Turner at Fleet Command. Her face was hard as stone when she heard the news. Captain Morrison, did you say they took children? Admiral Turner asked. Yes, Admiral. 43 human children, ages 5 to 16. The aliens called themselves Zeltharians. They claim this planet belongs to them because of some old treaty. Admiral Turner was quiet for a long moment. Jake could see the anger building in her eyes. Captain, I'm authorizing a full rescue operation. You have complete authority to do whatever is necessary to bring those children home. Thank you, Admiral. What about the Zeltharian Empire? They seem to be a major power in this sector. I don't care if they rule half the galaxy, Admiral Turner said. They made one mistake. They took our children. That's not something we forgive or forget. The screen went dark. Jake walked back to the bridge where his crew was waiting. They had all heard the news about the children. Every face showed the same cold anger. What are your orders, Captain? Amy Stone asked. We track them down. We find those children. And we bring them home, Jake said. Pete, I need you to boost our sensor arrays. We're going to hunt these aliens across the galaxy if we have to. Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez nodded. I'll need 6 hours to make the modifications. But I can increase our scanning range by 300%. Do it, Jake said. Kelly, start plotting possible escape routes from this system. Where would they go? Commander Kelly Nash worked at her navigation console. Based on the attack pattern, they came from the outer rim, probably heading back that way. Ron, I need everything you can find about the Zeltharians. Who are they? What do they want? How do we fight them? Lieutenant Commander Ron Bailey was already working. I'm pulling data from every intelligence source we have. Give me a few hours. Jake turned to his medical officer. Helen, how is Lisa? Campbell? Dr. Helen Cruz looked up from her medical reports. She's stable, but she's worried sick about her daughter Emma. She keeps asking when we're going to get the children back. Soon, Jake said. We're going to get them back soon. While Pete worked on the sensors, Jake couldn't stop thinking about the children. He imagined them scared and confused, crying for their parents. The thought made his chest tight with anger. 6 hours later, Pete called from the engine room. Captain, the sensor modifications are complete. We can now scan 5 times farther than before. Good work, Pete. Amy, start scanning for any ships that left this system in the last 4 days. Amy worked at her console for an hour. Finally, she looked up with excitement. Captain, I found something. Ion trails from 3 large ships. They left the system heading toward the outer rim. Can you track them? The trails are faint, but yes. They're heading toward a system called Vega 7. It's about 2 days away at maximum speed. Jake felt his heart beat faster. Kelly, set course for Vega 7, maximum speed? As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Ron Bailey came to the bridge with his research. Captain, I found information about the Zeltharians. It's not good news. Tell me, Jake said. They're an old empire, very proud. They think they're better than every other species in the galaxy. They've been expanding their territory. For the last 50 years? What do they want with human children? Ron's face was grim. According to captured intelligence, they take children from other species for several reasons. Sometimes they use them as servants. Sometimes they sell them to other alien species. But the worst part is something they call neural conditioning. What's that? They erase the children's memories. They remove their personalities and turn them into mindless servants. The process is permanent. Jake felt sick. How long does it take? The reports say about 1 week. But Captain, there's something else. They have a special facility where they do this. It's on a planet called Nethys Prime. Where is this planet? Deep in Zeltharian space. It's heavily guarded. The intelligence. Reports say it's surrounded by a massive fleet. Jake stared out at the stars rushing past. We're going to need help. Captain, Amy said from her station. I'm picking up more ion trails at Vega 7. The Zeltharian ships stopped there for 12 hours, then continued deeper into their territory. Toward Nethys Prime? Yes, sir. That's the direction they're heading. Jake made his decision. Amy, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell Admiral Turner we need reinforcements. We're going after a heavily defended enemy facility. Captain, Kelly said, even with reinforcements, attacking Nethys Prime would be suicide. The intelligence reports say they have over 200 ships guarding that planet. Then we'll have to be smarter than they are, Jake said. Ron, what else can you tell me about Zeltharian psychology? They're very confident. They think other species are weak and stupid. They've never lost a major battle. That makes them careless. Good. Overconfidence is a weakness we can use. Pete's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings ahead. 3 ships, Zeltharian design. Jake felt his pulse quicken. Battle stations. But don't attack yet. Let's see what they're doing. The crew prepared for battle. Jake watched the screen as 3 blue-colored ships came into view. They were sleek and dangerous looking. They're scanning us, Amy reported. Wait, they're sending a message. Put it on screen? The face that appeared was clearly alien. Blue skin, large dark eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the voice was cold and arrogant. Human vessel, you are entering Zeltharian space without permission. Turn back immediately or face the consequences. Jake stepped forward. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have taken human children from the Kepler 442b. Colony, return them immediately, the alien laughed. It was a harsh, unpleasant sound. The human offspring are now property of the Zeltharian Empire. They will serve their betters as nature intended. You have no power here, human. You're wrong, Jake said quietly. You've just made the biggest mistake of your lives. You took our children, and now you're going to pay for it. The alien's expression changed. For a moment, Jake saw something that might have been fear. You dare threaten the Zeltharian Empire? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have destroyed entire species. But you've never fought humans before? Jake said. And you've never taken our children before. You're about to learn why that was a mistake. The alien cut the transmission. Immediately, the 3 enemy ships opened fire. Shields up. Return fire, Jake ordered. The ESS Vengeance shook under the enemy attack. But Pete's modifications had improved more than just the sensors. The ship's weapons were more powerful than before. The first Zeltharian ship exploded in a ball of fire. The second ship tried to run, but Kelly was too good a pilot. Her precise flying allowed Pete's weapons to destroy it quickly. The third ship sent a desperate message before Jake's crew could stop it. Alert all units. Human ship approaching Nethys Prime. They know about the human offspring. Then that ship was destroyed too. Captain, Amy said. They've warned their base. They'll be ready for us. Jake smiled grimly. Good, let them get ready. It won't matter. We're coming for those children, and nothing is going to stop us. He looked at his crew. Ron, I want detailed battle plans for attacking Nethys Prime. Kelly, find us the fastest route there. Pete, I want every weapon and shield system working at maximum efficiency. Amy, keep monitoring all enemy communications. What about reinforcements? Helen asked. We can't wait for them. Those children have been prisoners for 4 days already. Every hour we wait is another hour of fear and suffering. For them. Jake stood up and addressed his crew. I won't lie to you. This is going to be the most dangerous mission any of us have ever faced. We're going to attack a heavily defended enemy fortress to rescue 43 children. The odds are against US, but I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Those children are counting on us, and we're not going to let them down. The crew nodded. Jake could see the determination in their eyes. They were afraid, but they were also angry. And angry humans were the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Helmsman, set course for Nethys Prime, maximum speed. The ESS Vengeance jumped back into hyperspace, racing toward the heart of enemy territory. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the stars. Soon he would face the entire Zeltharian fleet. But first he was going to save those children, no matter what it cost. The S-Vengeance moved through space like a ghost. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, watching the stars change as they entered Zeltharian territory. They had been traveling for 2 days, using captured enemy codes to avoid detection. Captain, Kelly Nash said from the pilot's seat, we're approaching the outer sensors of Nethys Prime system. Should I continue on this course? Jake looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed enemy ships patrolling the area. There were dozens of them. Yes, but carefully. Use the asteroid field to hide our approach. Kelly guided the ship between floating rocks the size of buildings. The asteroids would block enemy sensors, but one wrong move could destroy them. Amy, what are you hearing on enemy communications? Jake asked. Amy Stone listened to her headset. They're talking about increased security? Someone called Warcast. Krexvoth is arriving soon. He's some kind of important commander. Ron Daly looked up from his computer. Captain, I found information about Krexvoth. He's the alien who attacked the colony. He's known for being extremely cruel, even by Zeltharian standards. Jake felt his anger grow. What else? He specializes in breaking the spirits of captured species. He's the one who will oversee the neural conditioning of the children. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. They were running out of time. Pete, how are the ship's systems? Jake asked. All weapons are ready, Captain, but I have to be honest. We're going up against odds of about 50 to 1. Maybe more. Then we'll have to be 50 times smarter than they are, Jake said, as they got closer to Nethys Prime. Jake could see the planet through the main viewer. It was a dark, ugly world covered in gray buildings. But what shocked him was the size of the fleet protecting it. "My God," Helen Cruz whispered. "There must be 200 ships out there." Jake studied the enemy formation. Most of the ships were arranged in defensive patterns around the planet, but there were gaps in their coverage. "Kelly, do you see that nebula cloud near the planets?" "North Pole?" Jake asked. "Yes, Captain. It's a gas cloud from the planet's volcanic activity." "Can we use it to hide our approach?" Kelly studied her navigation display. "It's risky. The gas is toxic and it interferes with our sensors. But it might work." "Do it." The ESS Vengeance moved toward the gas cloud. As they entered it, the ship's lights dimmed. The toxic gas made it hard to see outside. "Amy, start scanning for the prison facility," Jake ordered. Amy worked at her console. "I'm reading a large complex on the planet's surface. It's heavily shielded, but I can make out several buildings. There are definitely life signs inside." "Human life signs?" "Yes, Captain. And they're in distress." Jake clenched his fists. "The children were down there, probably scared and confused." "Ron, what's the layout of a typical Zeltharian prison?" "According to our intelligence, they separate prisoners by species. The most, valuable ones are kept in the central building. That's probably where the children are. How do we get down there?" "The facility has heavy surface defenses, but there's a weakness. Zeltharians don't expect attacks from inside the gas cloud. Their sensors can't penetrate it." Jake made his decision. "We're going to land on the planet. Pete, prepare a shuttle for ground assault. Kelly, find us a landing site near the prison." "Captain," Helen said, "this is suicide. Even if we reach the children, how do we get them out?" "One step at a time," Jake said. "First, we save the children. Then we worry about getting home." They landed the shuttle on a rocky hill overlooking the prison complex. Through the toxic gas, they could see the buildings below. The place looked like a nightmare. High walls surrounded several gray structures. Guard towers stood at every corner. "There," Amy pointed to a building in the center. "That's where the human life signs are strongest." Jake looked at his team. "Dan Phillips will lead the ground assault. I'll provide support from the shuttle. Amy, you're with me. Pete, keep the engines ready for a quick escape." Chief of Security Dan Phillips checked his weapons. "Captain, what about the fleet in orbit?" "When we attack, they'll know we're here. Let me worry about the fleet. You just focus on getting those children out." Don nodded. He was a big man with kind eyes, but Jake knew he was one of the toughest fighters in the fleet. "How many guards are we expecting?" "Sensors show about 50 Zeltharians in the complex, but they're spread out across several buildings." "Good, we'll move fast and hit them before they can organize." As Dan's team prepared to move out, Amy intercepted another enemy transmission. "Captain, I'm picking up something important. Krexvoth has arrived. He's ordering the neural conditioning to begin immediately." Jake felt his blood turn cold. "How long do we have?" "The process starts in 2 hours. Once it begins, it can't be stopped." "Don, you heard that." "We have 2 hours to get those children out." "Understood, Captain." Dan and his team moved down the hill toward the prison. Jake watched them through the shuttle's viewer. They moved like shadows, avoiding the guard towers. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm detecting movement in orbit. 3 enemy ships are heading toward the gas cloud." "They suspect something," Jake said, "but they can't see us yet." Dan's voice came over the radio. "Captain, we're at the outer wall." "There. Are guards on patrol? We're going to have to fight our way in." "Do what you have to do," Jake said. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the gas cloud. Jake watched as Dan's team fought their way through the outer defenses. The Zeltharians were tough fighters, but they weren't expecting humans to attack their most secure facility. "We're inside the complex," Don reported, moving toward the central building. Jake switched to the prison's internal communications. What he heard made him sick. Zeltharian voices were discussing the human children like they were animals. "The small ones are more valuable," one voice said. Their minds are easier to reshape. The older ones show too much resistance, another voice replied, "Perhaps we should dispose of them." Jake grabbed his radio. "Dan, they're planning to hurt the older children." "You need to move faster." "Copy that, Captain." "We're almost there." Through the security cameras, Jake watched Dan's team fight through the prison corridors. The Zeltharians were skilled warriors, but they had never faced humans fighting for their children. "Contact." Dan's voice crackled over the radio. "We found them, Captain. They're in the central building. The children are here." Jake felt a wave of relief. "Are they hurt?" "They're scared, but they seem physically okay." "Wait, Captain. I'm seeing something else. There are other species here, too. Dozens of alien children from different worlds." "Get our children first," Jake said. "We'll come back for the others." "Captain," Amy interrupted, "those enemy ships are getting closer. They're scanning the gas cloud." Jake made a quick decision. "Done. How long do you need?" 5 minutes to get the children to the shuttle." "But Captain, there's something else. The neural conditioning equipment is here. It's horrible. They've been using it on other species for years." Jake felt rage building in his chest. "Destroy it." "Already on it, Captain." The sound of explosions echoed through the prison. Dan's team was destroying the alien equipment that had tortured so many children. "Children secured," Don reported. "Moving to extraction point." Jake could hear children crying in the background. Young voices calling for their parents. "It's going to be okay," he heard Don telling them. "We're here to take you home." "Captain," Amy said urgently, "the enemy ships have found us. They're opening fire." The shuttle shook as enemy weapons hit the ground around them. Jake grabbed the controls. "Don, how long?" 2 minutes, Captain." "The children are moving as fast as they can." Through the viewer, Jake could see small figures running through the toxic gas. Some were very young, barely able to walk. Dan's team was carrying the smallest ones. "Almost there," Don called out. The first child reached the shuttle. It was a little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was crying and calling for her mother. Jake's heart broke seeing her fear. "It's okay," he told her. "We're going to take you home." More children poured into the shuttle. Jake counted them quickly. 43, all accounted for. "Don, get your team aboard. We're leaving now." "Captain, what about the other alien children?" Jake looked at the enemy ships closing in. "We can't save them all today, but we'll be back." Don was the last one aboard. As soon as the shuttle door closed, Jake launched them into the toxic gas cloud. Enemy weapons fire followed them, but the gas made it hard for the aliens to aim. "Kelly, get us to the ship, now." As they flew through the gas, Jake looked back at the rescued children. They were huddled together, frightened, but alive. The youngest ones were still crying. The older ones tried to comfort them. One boy, maybe 12 years old, looked up at Jake. "Are we really going home?" "Yes," Jake said. "You're going home. And those aliens are never going to hurt you again." The boy nodded and held a smaller child closer. "Thank you," he whispered. Jake felt tears in his eyes. They had done it. They had saved the children. But as they flew toward the ESS Vengeance, he knew the real battle was just beginning. The entire Zeltharian fleet would be coming for them soon, and Jake Morrison was ready for them. Jake Morrison watched the rescued children from the shuttle doorway as they were brought aboard the ESS Vengeance. Some were crying. Others were too scared to make any sound at all. Dr. Helen Cruz and her medical team checked each child carefully. "They're all alive," Helen reported. "Scared and hungry, but physically okay. The youngest ones are in shock." Jake knelt down beside a little girl with dark hair. She couldn't be more than 5 years old. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Emma," she whispered. "Emma Campbell. I want my mommy." Jake's heart broke. This was Lisa Campbell's daughter, the little girl her mother was so worried about. "Emma, my name is Jake. We're going to take you back to your mommy. She's waiting for you." Emma looked up at him with big, frightened eyes. "The blue people were mean. They said bad things to us." "They can't hurt you anymore," Jake promised. "I won't let them." Amy Stone's voice echoed through the ship. Captain, to the bridge, emergency. Jake stood up and turned to Helen. Take care of them. Get them food and warm clothes. Make sure they know they're safe. He ran to the bridge where his crew was waiting. The main screen showed space around them, but it wasn't empty anymore. Enemy ships were appearing everywhere, surrounding them. How many? Jake asked. 60 ships so far, Kelly Nash reported. More are coming. Pete Rodriguez looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we can't fight that many ships. Our weapons are good, but we're just one vessel. Captain, Amy said, I'm receiving a transmission from the enemy fleet. It's Krexvoth. Put him on screen. The alien commander's face appeared. His blue skin was darker than the others Jake had seen. His eyes were cold and filled with hate. Human captain, Krexvoth said in his harsh voice, you have made a terrible mistake. You have stolen property of the Zelfarian Empire. Those children are not property, Jake said. They're human beings. And we're taking them home, Krexvoth laughed. You think your small ship can escape my fleet? You are surrounded? Surrender. Now, and I will only execute you and your crew. The human offspring will return to their proper place. Never, Jake said. Then you will all die together? But first, I want you to watch as I destroy your ship piece by piece. The young ones will suffer before the end. The transmission ended. Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were also determined. Captain, Ron Bailey said. What are your orders? Jake thought for a moment. They were outnumbered 60-1. Any normal military commander would surrender, but these weren't normal circumstances. Battle stations, Jake ordered. Amy, send a message to the entire fleet. Tell them if they want those children, they'll have to come and take them. Sir, Pete said, we can't win this fight. Maybe not, Jake said. But we're going to make them pay for every inch. Those children are going home, even if we have to fight through hell to get them there? The enemy fleet began to move toward them. Jake watched the tactical display as 60 ships closed in. But he had a plan. Kelly, remember the asteroid field we came through? Yes, Captain. It's about 2 million kilometers from here. Can you get us there? It would be dangerous. With all those enemy ships firing at us, we might not make it. Ken. You do it? Kelly smiled grimly. Yes, sir, I can do it. Then do it, maximum speed. The ESS Vengeance shot forward like a bullet. The enemy ships were caught off guard by the sudden movement, but they quickly began chasing the human ship. They're firing, Amy reported. Energy beams filled the space around them. Kelly flew the ship like she was dancing, dodging between the weapons fire, but some shots got through. Shields down to 70%, Pete called out. Keep going. Jake ordered. They raced through space with 60 enemy ships behind them. More weapons fire lit up the darkness. The ship shook every time they were hit. Captain, Helen's voice came over the communication system. The children are terrified. The explosions are scaring them. Tell them we're almost home, Jake said. Tell them to be brave for just a little longer. They reached the asteroid field, with the enemy fleet close behind. But this was what Jake had been planning. Kelly, take us deep into the asteroids. Use them as cover. Yes, sir? The ESS Vengeance flew between the giant floating rocks. The enemy ships followed, but the asteroids made it hard for them to use their numbers advantage. Pete, what's the status of our weapons? All systems ready, Captain, but we're still outnumbered. Not anymore, Jake said. In this asteroid field, they can only attack us a few ships at a time, and we know these rocks better than they do. The first enemy ships entered the asteroid field. Jake watched them on the tactical display. They were moving carefully, trying not to hit the floating rocks. Fire, Jake ordered. The ESS Vengeance's weapons lit up the darkness. The first enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then the second one. They're pulling back, Amy reported, but Krexvoth's voice came over the communication system. Clever, human, but you only delay the inevitable. I have more ships than you have weapons. Jake was about to answer when something amazing happened. Amy looked up from her station with excitement. Captain, I'm reading new ships entering the system. Human ships. What? The main screen showed space beyond the asteroid field. Jake could see the beautiful sight of Earth Defense Fleet vessels dropping out of hyperspace, dozens of them. This is Admiral Grace Turner, a voice said over the communication system. Captain Morrison, we got your message. The cavalry has arrived. Jake felt relief wash over him. Admiral, good to see you. We have 43 rescued children aboard. But we're surrounded by enemy ships? Not for long, Admiral Turner said. All ships, attack formation. Show these aliens what happens when you mess with human children. The space battle that followed was like nothing Jake had ever seen. The Earth Defense Fleet fought with a fury that shocked the Zeltharians. Every human ship fought like they had children of their own at stake. The enemy ships tried to escape, but the human fleet surrounded them. Krexvoth's command ship was the last one standing. Human Admiral, came Krexvoth's voice, this attack is an act of war. The Zeltharian Empire will not forget this. Admiral Turner's voice was cold as ice. Good, we want you to remember. We want every species in the galaxy to know what happens when you hurt human children. You cannot defeat the entire Zeltharian Empire. Watch us, Turner said. The battle ended with Krexvoth's ship destroyed. Jake stood on the bridge, watching the wreckage float in space. The alien who had terrorized those children was gone. Captain, Helen called from the medical bay. Little Emma Campbell wants to talk to you. Jake went to the medical bay where the children were being cared for. Emma was sitting on a medical bed, holding a small stuffed animal that one of the crew had given her. Captain Jake, she said in her small voice, are the bad blue people gone? Yes, Emma, they can't hurt you anymore. Are we really going home? Jake knelt down beside her bed. Yes, we're going home. And your mommy is waiting. For you. Emma smiled for the first time since they had rescued her. Thank you for saving us. Jake felt tears in his eyes. You don't have to thank me, Emma. That's what we do. We protect our children. He looked around the medical bay at all the rescued children. They were still scared, but they were alive. They were free. And they were going home. Outside, the human fleet was forming up for the journey back to Earth, but Jake knew this was just the beginning. The Zeltharians had made one mistake. They had hurt human children, and humanity never forgave that kind of mistake. 3 weeks later, Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's main space station. Below him, the planet Earth looked peaceful and beautiful. But Jake knew that peace was about to end. The rescued children had been safely returned to their families. Emma Campbell was back with her mother Lisa. Jake had visited them the day before. Emma was still having nightmares about the blue aliens, but she was getting better every day. Captain Morrison, a voice said behind him. Jake turned to see Admiral Grace Turner walking toward him. Her face was serious. Admiral, Jake said, have we heard from the Zeltharian Empire? Yes, and it's not good news. Turner handed him a datapad. They're demanding we return the children and pay for the damage we caused at Nethys Prime. Jake read the message. They want us to apologize for rescuing our own children? It gets worse. They're claiming we attacked their territory without cause. They say we're the ones who started this war. War? Jake asked. That's what they're calling it. The Zeltharian High Command has declared humanity an enemy of their empire. They're mobilizing their entire fleet. Jake looked back at Earth. Somewhere down there, 43 children were playing with their friends, sleeping in their own beds and hugging their parents. The thought of those aliens threatening them again made his blood boil. How big is their fleet? Jake asked. Intelligence estimates over 5,000 ships, maybe more. They control dozens of star systems. And how many ships do we have? 800. Good ships, but we're still outnumbered 6-1. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. Admiral, they're making the same mistake they made before. What do you mean? They think this is about numbers. They think they can scare us into giving up. But they don't understand humans very well. Admiral Turner nodded. Captain, I'm promoting you to Admiral. I want you to lead our response to this threat. What kind of response? The kind that makes sure no alien species ever thinks about hurting human children again. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the main briefing room of Fleet Command. Around the table sat the captains of every major ship in the Earth Defense Fleet. Their faces were hard and determined. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake began, "3 weeks ago, an alien empire called the Zeltharians kidnapped 43 human children. We got those children back. Now the aliens want us to apologize." The room was silent. Jake could see anger in every face. "The Zeltharians think they can threaten Earth because they have more ships than we do. They think we'll be scared of their numbers. They're wrong." Captain Lavara Bennett of the ESS Thunder spoke up. "Admiral, what are your orders?" "We're going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. We're going to show the entire galaxy what happens when you hurt human children." Over the next month, the Earth Defense Fleet prepared for war. But this wasn't going to be a normal war. Jake had a special plan. "Amy," Jake said to his communications officer, "I want you to send a message to every species in the galaxy. Tell them what the Zeltharians did to our children. Tell them about the neural conditioning. Tell them about all the other alien children we found in that prison." "Sir, what's the purpose of that?" "The Zeltharians have been doing this for years. Taking children from weaker species, making them into slaves. Other races will want revenge too." Jake was right. Within days, messages started coming in from dozens of alien species. The Zeltharians had hurt their children too. Many of these species wanted to join the fight against the Empire, but Jake's real plan was simpler and more direct. "Run," Jake said to his intelligence officer. "I want the location of every Zeltharian prison world. Every place where they keep captured children. Admiral, there are dozens of them. Maybe more." "Good. We're going to hit them all at the same time." The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. Human ships appeared at Zeltharian prison worlds across the galaxy. The aliens were expecting an attack on their home systems. They weren't ready for humans to attack their prisons. Jake led the attack on Nethys Prime. This time, he brought 50 ships instead of one. The Zeltharian fleet protecting the planet was overwhelmed in minutes. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison." He broadcast to the planet's surface. "We're here for the children, all of them, every species." The ground assault was swift and brutal. Human soldiers, still angry about what had happened to their own children, showed no mercy to the prison guards. They freed hundreds of young aliens from dozens of different species, but the message Jake was sending went far beyond just rescuing prisoners. "Admiral," Amy reported, "we're getting reports from all the other prison worlds. Every attack was successful. We freed over 2,000 alien children." "Good, now send a message to the Zeltharian High Command." Jake stood in front of the communication screen. His message would be broadcast to every Zeltharian ship and planet in the Empire. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. You took our children, you tortured them. You planned to erase their minds and turn them into slaves. You made one mistake. You thought we would be afraid of you." He paused, letting his words sink in. "You were wrong. We're not afraid of you. You should be afraid of us. We've just freed every child in every prison you had. Your slave trade is over. Your empire of fear is finished." The reaction was swift. Zeltharian fleets rushed to protect their remaining facilities, but they found empty space. The humans had already moved on to the next target. Within 6 months, the Zeltharian Empire began to collapse. Species they had terrorized for years rose. Up in rebellion, their slave trade was destroyed. Their reputation for invincibility was broken. Jake stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. The Zeltharians were requesting peace talks. "Admiral," Amy said, "the Zeltharian High Command wants to negotiate. They're offering to stop taking children from other species." "Tell them no," Jake said. "Sir?" "Tell them we don't negotiate with people who hurt children. Tell them the only thing we want from them is total surrender." A year later, the war was over. The Zeltharian Empire had surrendered completely. Their leaders were put on trial for crimes against children of all species. Their prison worlds were turned into hospitals and schools. Jake visited Earth one more time before taking his new assignment as commander of the Galactic Protection Force. He went to see Emma Campbell, who was now 7 years old and healthy. Admiral Jake, she said, running to hug him. Mommy says you're famous now. Not famous, Jake said, kneeling down to her level. Just doing my job. What's your job? Protecting children like you. Making sure no one ever hurts them again, Emma smiled. Are there still bad aliens out there? Some, Jake said honestly. But they know better than to hurt children now. They know what happens when they make humans angry. What happens? Jake smiled. They learn that humans never give up. We never stop fighting for our children. And we never, ever forgive anyone who hurts them. Emma nodded seriously. Good, children should be safe. Yes, Jake said. They should, and now they are. As Jake left Earth for his new assignment, he looked back at the blue planet where 43 children were growing up safe and happy. In space stations and colonies across the galaxy, thousands of other alien children were also safe, freed from Zeltharian prisons. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Human children were not to be touched. Human families were not to be threatened. And humanity would go to any length, fight any enemy, and cross any distance to protect their young dot. It was a lesson that would never be forgotten.